Anhedonia is commonly understood as the inability to experience pleasure and exists on a spectrum. This ranges from mild disengagement with activities that were once enjoyable to a profound state of emotional numbness. The onset of anhedonia is often gradual, typically precipitated by factors such as stress, depression, or chronic emotional strain, and it manifests as a progressive decline in the capacity to derive joy or satisfaction. As the condition intensifies, individuals may experience a diminishing ability to engage emotionally with their environment, potentially reaching a state in which pleasure is either barely felt or absent altogether. While anhedonia is generally regarded as a negative experience, it can, when approached with intentional mindfulness, offer certain psychological advantages. Specifically, the reduced emotional intensity, which is characteristic of this condition, can facilitate the cultivation of states of peace and emotional clarity. In such states, the fluctuations of emotional highs and lows subside, creating a space conducive to deeper contemplation, sustained focus, and emotional stability. These states of emotional neutrality are particularly accessible to individuals who actively engage in practices that promote detachment and awareness. The spectrum of anhedonia, therefore, should be viewed not solely as a pathology, but also as an opportunity for emotional growth. At its mildest, it can allow individuals to gain distance from the emotional reactivity that often characterizes daily life. By doing so, it facilitates a form of emotional observation that is not driven by external stimuli, thus promoting clarity and objectivity. At the more severe end of the spectrum, where emotional numbness predominates, anhedonia can serve as a form of liberation from attachment to transient pleasures and desires. This detachment fosters a more grounded, neutral state of being, which can contribute to a greater sense of equilibrium and personal insight. Mindfulness practices are integral to cultivating this emotional neutrality intentionally. Central to mindfulness is the concept of non attachment, the ability to experience emotions without clinging to them or reacting impulsively. This practice involves the development of awareness concerning the rise and fall of emotional states without the necessity of engaging with them or allowing them to dictate one's actions. This awareness represents the first step in reducing the emotional volatility associated with anhedonia, ultimately leading to a more neutral emotional state. For example, mindfulness techniques such as focused breathing or body awareness allow individuals to reconnect with the present moment without the compulsion to engage emotionally. By focusing on breath or bodily sensations, individuals can create a psychological buffer between external stimuli and their emotional response. Over time, these practices diminish emotional reactivity and reduce the need for pleasure seeking behaviors. This process can be understood as a quieting of the internal dialogue, which fosters a foundation of emotional stillness that promotes peace and clarity. It is essential to emphasize that the cultivation of anhedonia through mindfulness is not an attempt to force emotional numbness or disengagement. Rather, it involves recognizing that emotional detachment can provide relief from the perpetual cycle of craving, disappointment, and reactive behavior. When approached mindfully, anhedonia becomes a tool for emotional resilience, a means of centering oneself in the present moment without relying on pleasure as a means of peace or fulfillment. In the long term, regular engagement in mindfulness practices can reduce the psychological burdens associated with emotional attachment. By learning to observe emotional experiences without becoming enmeshed in them, individuals can foster a more balanced relationship with their emotions. This process facilitates clarity and stability, enabling individuals to respond to life's challenges from a place of greater composure and insight. In conclusion, while anhedonia is often perceived as the absence of pleasure, it can in fact serve as a valuable tool for cultivating emotional balance, inner peace, and personal growth. Through mindfulness practices, individuals can intentionally reduce emotional reactivity, transitioning into a state of emotional neutrality that fosters deeper insight and healing. Rather than viewing anhedonia as a condition to be feared or avoided, it can be embraced as an opportunity to detach from the cyclical nature of emotional highs and lows, thus creating a foundation of peace and stability that is not reliant on external sources of pleasure.